Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. I have a few journals that I want to share. These are available and the link to my website will be in the description. This one is wrapped around with a fabric strip that I made. It's a number of strips and then they're stitched together with these little rectangles to make one long strip. And this was a piece of fabric that was on the art desk, so it is covered in all kinds of paint and stain. Things like this are so much fun to me. This journal is called Window on the Farm, and it's similar the way it's made to the one I just sold. I think it was called Window on the Garden, and I used a really heavy piece of paper. You know, I've had these for a while and I kept thinking, well, I don't want to put them in a journal because there's a button. Because they are so heavy, and I ended up stitching a piece of fabric onto the inside to really sturdy this up and just use it as a grungy cover. On the strings outside, the strings that bind the journal, we've got some beads. There is another one of the Mookite Jaspers and some other glass beads. All of these are from Rare Earth Beads, my last trip over there. This is put on with a safety pin. There is a little metal flower that's been stitched to the front and some grungy lace. That's cotton lace. And I used a variety of stains in this. I used Tim Holtz ink. I used some instant coffee, and I also used some of the Dollar Tree vanilla, the imitation vanilla extract. Although I don't use that too much. I think the journal has a nice smell. You know, I just want to be really clear about what I use. It's got a couple of little things here in the front. There's a rusty washer that I found that's just hooked to this upside down pocket with another safety pin. There's one of my cards, and there's a tag made from an old ad for corsets, and I just printed that out. This very first piece of paper is one of the pieces that I made, so that's really fun, and it ended up with some ink on it, of course. All of the pages in here are very distressed. Again, with a combination of things, very crinkly, very grungy, and there are just like odd little bits of stamping. I drew one of the little faces in here. Well, she's kind of bigger than some of the faces. And there is a page that's from a piece of cardboard that's got some fabric on it. And I printed that out. That's a beautiful image. She's got a basket over her arm. So all of this is sort of farm, like Window on the Farm. There's a butterfly that's got some alcohol ink on it, another piece of corrugated cardboard, and then a really beautiful crinkly image of a lady holding a baby. I love these. I think these images are so beautiful. And this journal, again, is really grungy. There is a little flashcard that's been distressed, and it's got the candle on it, which you know a farmhouse has candles. This is a little tag made from just a scrap of paper, Never Stop Journaling. And this is fun. So I scanned a bunch of ephemera the other day for my Patreon and printed out the whole sheet and decided to I printed it on a piece of stationery that had the rose on it, which I thought turned out really pretty. And instead of cutting it up, I decided to just fold the whole thing and put it in the journal. So there's the center. And then, of course, we have another window. The beautiful girl inside. There are a couple of little flowers that I painted, and that's why it's called Window on the Farm. There's some stamping here, and just more distressing. A little bird that I painted, and I just recreated that last little situation with the bird and then a piece of fabric, and I wrote bird on it. You can't be any more straight up than that. There's part of a piece of cardboard, the corrugated part, and you can see where that's torn. There's a stamped image, and I just thought, oh, sometimes the lady of the farm has to get dressed up and go into town. Another corset ad, another beautiful image. These are stained and distressed and wrinkled, and that has got fabric on the other side of that cardboard, and again, some of the very distressed cotton lace. And this is just a little part of a book page that was stained, distressed. And a butterfly that's stained with alcohol ink. Another little flashcard with some boots. Of course, you need boots around the farm. That was on a piece of fabric, a sample. It says Edgemont Blue, so I just glued that in. And then here is just an envelope that I made out of some of the scrap paper on my desk. So you can put things in there. And then here we're at the back. So there is a postcard with a butterfly and a little bag that's hanging here with a safety pin. And then some sort of like a little buckle of sorts. It looks like it has a snap on it. I don't know if it went to a garter. It looks a little heavy for a garter. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and put that in here, and there's my stamp on the back. I didn't really talk about the fabric on the front. That's some really pretty, bright, colorful farm fabric. It's cotton, probably quilting cotton, and that's the way it looked when I bought it. It's just really fun and colorful. So that is Window on the Farm. Let's look at another one that's similar in size. That one's a little bit bigger. And this one is called The Butterfly Garden. This one is called The Butterfly Garden also, but it's a little bit bigger. So let's just look. This one is tied with some vintage seam binding, really, really soft, and I didn't distress that or anything. So this is a really old seam binding, and Hug Snug. I love the color of this. There's the tag that says The Butterfly Garden. We have more glass beads from Rare Earth Beads, and then a metal heart charm. There is a piece of fabric that's been distressed. It's got butterflies on it. The tag has got butterflies on it, and it's just attached with a safety pin. There's a big blue button on the front, and then just a piece of scrap fabric. And getting inside, there is a wooden tag that Mary sent to me, and it's got some staining on it, a little flower stamped, and a bird on this side. There is one of the beautiful, beautiful Cavallini postcards with the butterfly. There is a piece of paper that I made, and you can see where it got kind of thin. There's a hole in it. There's a little doily that's stained, and that's held in place with a great big paper clip. There's wallpaper. That's from the beautiful old Cavallini calendar from 2004. Another little bird that I painted, and of course we're recreating that same situation with the fabric and just writing the word bird. This is something I printed out. It's got some little images, different things, and there's the woman with the baby again, and just a piece of cotton lace stitched onto that corrugated cardboard. Beautiful image there. And then on this side we have part of a greeting card that had a window in it, and I put an image underneath that. There's a stamped dragonfly, some stamps that were torn from a letter that came from Australia, and then there's a little sketch in here that's got some watercolor in it, and pretty postcard, climbing or Hartford fern. So that must be a climbing fern. Really pretty. More of that paper that I printed out with the little images. Butterfly die cut there. Some music paper. Lots of distressing, staining, stamping. That's a beautiful piece of wallpaper. It came from Reconsidered Goods in Greensboro. There's a large book page. And then, of course, here's the center of this one. There's a butterfly stamped there. You can see a lot of fading from, I think a lot of Tim Holtz ink was used on this page. And more of that wallpaper. And some rings made from some distress paint by Ranger. And then part of the calendar. Some stenciling and paint. And then here we have a window. Now, the difference in this one and some of the others, the window's in place with masking tape as per usual. But this is an original vintage, just a little print or something. And I've scanned it. I have a scanned copy of this. So I didn't want to glue that down. That's just in with a paper clip. If you want to take that out and then glue something different, you can. That butterfly is glued in underneath the window. So there's a lot of room for you to add to this. And there is a beautiful image. I believe that is called Summer. And that's by one of my favorite artists, Bouguereau, I think is the way you say his name. Distressed butterfly. And just more distressed pages. There is a coffee stained Monopoly card in French. And that wallpaper. And then we're at the back, and there is another beautiful Cavallini postcard from 2006. And there's a little stained tag with a recipe for French pastry. And that is the Butterfly Garden, kind of a medium-sized version. These other two are about six by, 9 or 10. There's some odd-sized pages. This one is bigger. This one is like 7 by 11. And there's the tag that says the Butterfly Garden, another piece of the fabric with the butterfly, and we have one of the metal pieces there. This on the outside, we've got a little glass bottle that's got a stone in it called Adventurine, and there is a little metal key that I've had for a while, and a beautiful glass bead from Rare Earth Beads. This piece of lace is very distressed, and it's got some coffee on it. Again, I think these journals smell amazing. I mean, you get a hint of just the distressed paper, the coffee, which I used to not like so much. I don't know if it was using real coffee. Now I'm using instant coffee. I don't know, but it's not bothering me at all. And then a hint of the vanilla with the things that have been sprayed with that. And then the back, there's my stamp. You can see there is some fabric here that looks like wood, and I thought it would be fun to put the butterfly on that. Now, the way this ties, we've got a couple of different things going on here. There are two pieces of this cotton fabric with the roses. I really love that. And then two longer pieces of cotton trim from a big piece of fabric that was hemmed around the edge. And on the inside, there is another wooden tag from Mary that's been stamped. And in here, we've got my card. And then I made a little envelope out of some of the wallpaper. And on the inside, I absolutely love this. I had a page from a book. It's copyright by Funk and Wagnall's company, Familiar Flowering Plants. So I think this is still in copyright. I don't think it's old enough, and I scanned it for my personal use. So I'm just including a copy of that in here, but I don't think it would be appropriate to like reproduce it online or sell it or anything like that. I don't think it can be sold as a digital thing. So here is a beautiful piece of stationery with the ferns. This book, again, is highly distressed. I've printed out some different things. There's one of the cards I made a while back with the butterfly and the stitching. I had scanned those in, and I can print those. That's a print from a ledger that I have from the 1860s. And this paper, so that's really highly distressed. That's been on the art desk for a while. And just a variety of paper here. Lots of staining. There's the wallpaper, and it had a tag on it. I just covered it up with some masking tape and then distressed it. There is some scrapbook paper, and the light on that looks a little bit like this light, but I love the stars there. And you can see just a lot of distressing. You could come back into this with your watercolor, with all different things, art, glue book, whatever you want this to be. And this has 23 folded pages, so it's a little bit bigger than this. And you've got room to get really chunky with this one. So there is a wax seal. I wanted to try one of the wax seals in here, and I love the way that turned out. So just going on through another one of those printed cards, and little bird stamp that's been painted. And another, that beautiful image called Summer. And that's neat, like a piece of vellum that's got some stuff printed on it. And that stamp, that's from some sort of architect company in Durham. And then more of the paper that was on my desk. There's the pretty stationery that had the rose on it. Part of that Cavallini calendar. There's another part of that. And if an image doesn't fit what you're doing, glue something on top of it. I love the contrast though, and this is truly a junk journal with all sorts of stained things and bits and bobs. That's just a card that's got a butterfly on a shovel, a rusty paper clip, and just a lot of distressing, a lot of fun images. I didn't paint that one. I thought you might want to paint that stamp. There's just a paper tag that says create with a leaf stamped on the back. And I think this is really pretty. So this is glued in and really distressed to look really old. There's a large butterfly on this side that's been stained with some alcohol ink. There are 2 of the rings from the distressed paint. And then this was just a large card that I distressed and put one of the printables on there. Put that over this page, kind of to keep a barrier. That alcohol ink should be dry and shouldn't be a problem, but until I was sure it had cured, I just put this in between those 2 things. And then there's some craft paper. And then these are fun. These are some little mushroom images that I printed out, and they're distressed. You can write on the back of those. They're just really grungy. Love the red mushrooms. Is that Amanita? I'm not sure how to say that. And then another page from the ledger. Music. There's just a piece of lace trim laying in there. Little bird stamped. And there's the wallpaper. That was one of my favorite pieces. It's got the cage and the bird. And butterfly. And just lots of distressing. And I love this beautiful image. Got the butterfly at the top. And that or at the back. And then in here we've got this really cute vintage stationery, this little trifold thing, and I put a stamp on it with then an ink stamp, and it's a bunny with some mushrooms and the dragonfly. And then there's just a pretty piece of scrapbook paper with some butterflies. I think Ava might have sent this to me. Anyway, I love that. So that is the butterfly garden, the larger one. That's the smaller butterfly garden. And then that is Window on the Farm. So all 3 of these are available. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back really soon. I do have a video to share with you where we're starting to work with the wax seals, and that's a lot of fun. All right, bye for now.